Welcome to the Heart-Led Money Podcast. I'm your host, Russ Dunnick. Our guest today is Samantha Keene, author of Reclaiming Vitality, A Healing Journey Through Chronic Fatigue and Burnout. Samantha is an inner space techniques practitioner with over 20 years of experience guiding clients to deep emotional and spiritual healing. Samantha's journey took her from Australia to New York, shifting from a successful career in finance journalism to dedicating herself to meditation-based techniques that are helping people overcome trauma, find their purpose, and live with vitality. Along the way, Samantha faced her own life-changing challenges, including chronic fatigue, but her commitment to inner work and transformation led to profound personal growth and the ability to make a living doing what she loves. Get ready to dive into the creative, no-limits mindset that drives Samantha's work. So grab a drink and let's dive into today's story. Okay, Samantha Keene, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi, Russ. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
It is great to have you. Now, you work as an inner space techniques practitioner. Tell us about what you do.
Yes, IST practitioner. So actually, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and you can hear that my accent is Australian. I immigrated to the US, to New York, about 18 years ago. And what I do with clients, I've been working with clients this whole time. It's a meditation-based style of work. So IST practitioner, inner space techniques. We work on taking people inside. It's actually a third eye-based technique.
Okay.
And really, it's about getting in touch with the highest part of yourself. We work through trauma, wounds, blockages, things that are in the way, and help people to get what they want. I mean, that's it in a nutshell, but I could talk and talk if you wanted more.
No, that's fascinating. I'm just imagining you probably get into some pretty intimate details with folks.
It is very deeply intimate,
Yeah,
and that is one of the things that I love about it. So people come to me, with very personal things that they want to work through, that they want to shift. Most of the time, people want transformation in one way or another, or spiritual healing, emotional healing. And we really go through what's the real source of the issue. So,
yeah, yeah.
it's not like kind of a cognitive behavioral therapy approach, not that
Sure.
either's good or bad, but they're different.
Hmm.
So a classic sort of CBT approach is more looking at things on the surface and shifting them around so that you can make it work. Here we go deep inside to the source of whatever is the
Wow.
problem. And when you get to the source, this really magical thing
Yes.
happens where you really change. You see for yourself how whatever it was, this pattern came about and where it comes from. And you really have a shift where it's like, oh wow, that's me. You see yourself and you see yourself separate to the thing that's been a bit like, the hamster in the wheel. It just goes
Exactly.
over and over again.
Exactly. Yeah, and so you said you've been doing this for about 20 years, and you're earning a living doing this work as your dream, right?
Yes,
That's awesome.
absolutely.
That is
Yes.
awesome. Now, we'll get into this a little bit later because you have another dream that you've recently realized that we'll talk about. But first, tell me about what inspired or motivated you to take this bold step to explore IST and to work with clients in this way.
Okay, I am going to answer your question, and I'm just going to take a step back
Of
as
course,
well.
yeah,
And on your previous question, I'm going to just mention that you and I did some work together, some
yes,
coaching,
we
and I
did.
actually hit an income goal that I'd been holding for a while, and that was really exciting. So, yes, I've been earning money doing what I do for a long time, and also I've been growing in how I put myself out there and how much money comes in and supporting myself. So
Yeah,
that's exciting. And
yes.
then, how did I come about to do this? That is such a big question because it also includes, you know, moving countries, coming to America,
Uh-huh.
like Eddie Murphy. Um, um, and it was a bit like that in the beginning because I came from Australia. So it was this huge thing to move countries, to start a business. I was a finance journalist. I was a finance journalist for 12 years. So to do something that was just, not the usual path. It wasn't really
Right.
known at the time
Right.
in New York. There was a big psychotherapy community there. Everyone does psychotherapy, everyone has a personal coach, a trainer, but they didn't really know what it was that I did. So, promoting my business, growing, I had a business partner that was based in the US and he
Uh-huh.
was doing the same thing. So, it was really about teamwork. And we had an office in just off Broadway, actually. And it was just a huge time. And so what motivated me to do that was I had been a finance journalist, as I said, for 12 years, and I really wasn't happy doing that.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I had chronic fatigue syndrome, and I became very ill about 6 years into that
Wow.
career.
Yeah.
And, I did well in that career. I was working in Sydney, I worked in London in the UK, but it just wasn't the right place for me to be for the rest of my life. So I really, I mean, it was a huge process, to sum up in a few sentences would be difficult, but to come
Of
to
course.
this place of, wow, I did a lot of work on myself. I went through a lot of transformation. I got better from chronic fatigue using the style of work that I have, that I now do, IST, inner space techniques. And I just became very passionate about helping others to transform and grow. I'd say it's part of my growth is helping others. A big part of my growth actually is helping others. So
Yeah.
I'm not entirely being generous. I'm actually getting a lot out of it. And
Yeah.
then I looked around the world of where I was going to live.
Mhm.
And I mean, I just feel incredibly lucky and grateful that I could do that.
Cool.
I was actually born in Africa. We immigrated to Australia when I was a kid. My dad is from England, so I had a pretty international background. So I had a big kind of mindset on like what my life could be and where I
Yeah.
could live. I
Right.
didn't have a lot of money.
Mm.
And then, in the States, I had some really good friends and really good contacts. And also, there's something here in the US, all countries have good things and bad things. All of us have good things and bad things inside of us too.
Of course.
And in the States, there is this, kind of entrepreneurial attitude.
Yes.
So
Yes.
people I found were actually very embracing. So when we went to New York, even if people were not into meditation or not into transformation per se, everyone wanted to know what it was I was doing. Everyone
Right.
was interested to find out more.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of my calling to be here. And just there is a very sort of creative, no limits kind of
Mhm.
attitude that you can have here. There's
Right.
a lot of freedom in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I say, it's 20 years on. I don't know if I would move to America right now, but but I
It's a
still
different
I've
time.
exactly it's a very different time. But I have made the decision, a number of times to stay and to be a
Right.
full-time immigrant to become American, even though we live in times that are very challenging
Awesome.
because of the people.
Yes.
And I'd say, I've worked with amazing people, big people, people with great plans, great passions, people with a lot of aspiration and wanting to be better, to be bigger, to be more in their lives. And it's such a joy to help people to facilitate that they can grow in the way that they want to.
Yeah. So you are feeling and you are realizing a lot of joy, a lot of happiness from that decision that you made to follow this path. So can you take us back to that moment or that turning point when you said, no more financial journalism. I need to follow a different path. What was it about that moment that made you take that path where you said, no matter what the risk, I need to course correct?
Well, yeah, again, it's a big question. I think, I was very unwell in
Hmm.
the journalism, and there was a period of time, about 3 years, where I was still working full time and I was really pushing up against some very intense symptoms,
Uh-huh.
deep fatigue, flu-like symptoms, headaches, just not happy, even though on paper my life looked pretty good at that time. I was
Yeah.
married. I was on a career, I was on a path that looked very successful. I was getting published, around Australia for sure, and definitely throughout Europe. And it seemed like, the dream.
Hmm.
But it was one of those moments where you realize a few times along the way, oh, wow, this is everything that I said I wanted, on paper.
Yes.
But now that I'm living this life, it's not the one for me. I don't, I'm not happy, but to the point that I'm really unwell. Now, I wouldn't say the chronic fatigue was entirely caused by being on the wrong path, but I do
Yeah.
think that my healing was hugely influenced by changing paths and finding the right one for me. And then, I had a number of spiritual breakthroughs, to be
Hmm.
honest, like really big spiritual awakenings. I started meditating. It wasn't that I did that to try and recover from the
Hmm.
illness. It was
Yeah.
just almost actually in exasperation. Just this, I tried all these other things. I've seen all these doctors, healers,
Right.
Western medicine, Eastern medicine, and nothing was really taking me where I needed to go. And then I started meditating after some travel,
Hmm.
and I just had a pretty big realization that the spiritual dimension of things had to be central to my life. And this was, I mean, I feel even quite shy to share it even now, all this time along. And it's so
Yeah.
central now because the life that I was leading was very much a pretty standard kind of Western materialistic life.
Hmm.
And I didn't think of myself that way. It wasn't that I was entirely motivated by money or gathering things or anything, but what I mean is that I didn't have any kind of spiritual dimension in my
Hmm.
life,
Hmm.
in my schooling, in my family, in my growing up. It just wasn't there. And so to have this big breakthrough where it
Hmm.
was just, wow, this is who I am. I'm not the environment that I grew up in. I'm
Hmm.
not the culture that has shaped my personality. I'm not those beliefs and values that have been,
Exactly.
given to me from the outside. I actually am this very spiritual, deep, person that's on a quest, and that's what my life's about. And so for me, starting this career was really just sort of, putting the flag at the top of the mountain and saying, this is me, this is who I am. And I actually don't really want to be here if I'm not being myself. Like it was
Yeah.
that stark for me. It was just, and I really do want to be here as myself. And then in the quest, of doing a business, of,
Hmm.
making it work with a business partner, of finding referral partners, of going from nothing
Hmm.
in a country where I knew not that many people to, really having a successful business in New York and then now in the Bay Area, in San
Yeah.
Francisco Bay Area. It was huge. And I would say I always feel so excited when I have people who are embarking on such a quest because I know for sure it's going to be difficult,
Oh, uh-huh.
because life is difficult anyway. But there's
Absolutely.
something when you do the thing
Hmm.
that you really want to do that is it's not just it's about expressing who you are in the world. It's about bringing forth that sense of self that's not about external
Yeah.
input. It's just who you are. Then
Yeah.
I know that this person is going to grow so much because all of the challenges, all of the difficulties that I faced, they all helped me to grow. I learned, I can't even, there's so many things that so many areas that I grew in and learned,
Yeah.
I learned about people. I learned about being in America. I learned about moving countries. It goes on and on.
I had a very similar experience. It sounds like I was in financial planning and
Oh,
terribly not happy. And I had worked to a point where all of my goals were reached. And it's like, this is the moment. This is what I've been working for, just like you were describing. And
yeah.
then you get there, and what I found was that those goals, those desires, those aspirations were really shaped externally. They weren't shaped from coming from within me. They were things that were conditioning, things that I thought other people needed me to be or wanted me to be or what I should be. And then that
Wow.
moment where you kind of plant your flag, like you said, and this is me, this is who I am. It's a huge, courageous moment for people. And I really loved how you
So big.
articulated that.
It's so
Yeah,
big. And it's beautiful you're too. That's why we're, here collaborating because you're also really supporting people to do this.
absolutely. Yeah.
I just, I just saw someone a little while ago that's, classically in that just someone in their early 30s. And
Hmm.
they've, and they were describing to me, I bought the boat, I bought the house, I built another building. I had the kids, I've done all these things and none of the things actually hit the spot. The kids definitely changed this
Hmm.
person,
Yeah.
but to the point that it was, I think, for them, having the kids made them realize I don't know what it is that's going to fulfill me, that's going to really help me to have this happiness, this joy that comes from being connected.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's talk about the other dream that I alluded to earlier and work that you and I did together. And you expressed a desire to earn more, have a greater income, kind of break through what you felt was a threshold or a ceiling that you were bumping up against. But then there was also a book that you had been working on, and I could tell right away that this was the part that I wanted to work with you on and say, boy, this book needs to become a reality. And
Yeah.
we worked on that together. So similar questions. Tell us about, was it what inspired the book? And you worked on the book for a while before you decided, okay, it's time. Let's
Yes,
make
it's a
this.
huge project. I'm just going to put
Yeah.
it here just to,
Yeah, absolutely.
yay, there's the book. I know it looks back to front on the video, but so the book is called Reclaiming Vitality, A Healing Journey Through Chronic Fatigue and Burnout.
Okay.
And I am excited because I did get finalist in the Eric Hoffer Award, an
Congratulations.
independent publishing award. So you can see the
Woohoo.
gold star.
Love it.
And yeah, it's been a massive, massive project. I started this also 20 years ago. So I was meditating. I was doing a 2 week solo silent retreat. I'll start that again. I was meditating. I was doing a 2 week silent solo retreat. And it just came to me that I
Mm,
wanted to
wow.
support other people that had chronic fatigue, burnout, and now we have long COVID, which actually fits into the same category of illnesses. And it came to me
Absolutely.
that it would be so great to help others to find their way. Because for myself, in the end, it was really energetic techniques, which are part of,
Yes.
the group of the suite of techniques that I practice with
Yes.
IST, that help me to recover. And this isn't easy to find because we have the physical side of things and then we have the emotional or the psychological side of things. But the energetic side of things or the non-physical, it's not really well acknowledged in our culture. So
No.
you might have acupuncture or you might do Tai Chi, you might do, Taoist styles of meditation, for example, and they are all what I would call energetic.
Hmm.
And yet, or Kundalini yoga is also an Indian style, it's energetic, but it's not really well known in our culture.
Right.
And so, what I was thinking was, wow, I was so lucky to have the opportunity, to find this work that really helped me to fully recover. And wouldn't it be so great if other people out there who are struggling could have the information?
Yes.
It's just so they can make the decision if they want to try it or not. It's not that I'm trying to push something. It's more like, hey, this information on what I'm going to call subtle bodies, which is including physical body, the energy body of chi or prana or life force, the emotions and thoughts, and then also the spiritual consciousness. So all of those four levels included under this broad term subtle bodies. It
Interesting.
comes from a style of work by a man called Dr. Samuel Sagan
Mm.
and a school called the Clair Vision School, which I started studying with actually 25 years ago in Australia. Makes me feel old
Not at
saying
all. Not
that.
at all.
But yes, a long time ago. And yeah, when I read his work, it just was so clear to me he was speaking to my experience. There's information he had about chronic fatigue and how people can collapse or burn out, where they're actually really frying very deep levels of their subtle bodies, the
Interesting.
kidney,
Interesting.
the chi or the prana. And it really takes, now I'm so clear why it takes time to recover from these things. But, when you look at the, CDC definition of chronic fatigue syndrome, for example, or myalgic encephalitis, which is ME, it's the same illness. It's fairly broad sweeping,
Hmm.
and it's just a list of symptoms. And they are doing a lot more study now because long COVID has a great deal of crossover with
Yes.
this illness. So there's actual, real funding going towards it. But they still don't really know the real cause. There are theories and they don't really know why. And they're really, at the moment, still describing it according to symptoms.
Okay.
And so this work is looking more at the true cause. It's not going to be covering every single person that has chronic fatigue or
Sure.
burnout because it's a broad sweeping category and there are different causes to
Hmm.
these symptoms in truth. So there could be a number of things that are actually going on, but there's a whole group of people that fit into the same category that I did, that have something where there's like a collapsing in the subtle bodies that it doesn't make sense from the standpoint of physical medicine. But when you start to get inside it and learn how to become strong or
Hmm.
fortify yourself where there was some kind of weakness, you recover, you
Hmm.
get better, and you're empowered. So my wanting was really, wow, there's all these people that don't have the information. They don't
Right.
have the information. So let's give them the information and see, if some people resonate with it and want to do it. Alongside that, I should say I always wanted to write a book.
Sure.
Since I was a little girl, I was a journalist because I wanted to be a writer. I did an MA in writing.
Perfect.
And, so writing a book is pretty different to writing articles,
Yes.
even to editing a magazine, which I did. It's another whole thing.
Hmm.
Even doing my master's thesis, which was a big project, and I did that on the same topic actually, the chronic understanding chronic fatigue and subtle bodies. But writing a book, it just seemed to be this unreachable goal. And so when you and I met, I had by that time finished the rough draft, I think 3 times. I had done a lot of interviews over many years. I'd done more than 10,000 sessions with private clients around the
Hmm.
world. And I had a body of material. I'd done a lot of research, and I was just coming to a place of deciding, should I go ahead and publish or not?
Or not.
Because I was just going to do a self-publishing.
Hmm.
So I decided that was the best route for me. And, it seemed like an expense. It was probably the most money I'd spend on like one-off spend I'd done on marketing
Right.
for my business up until that time. So I'm not including like the amount of money I spent to move to America or
Right.
the amount
Right.
of money I spent to get a master's, but just
Yeah.
on marketing, it seemed
Right.
like, whoa, this is a big amount of money. And looking back, it actually doesn't seem like a big amount of money now. But in the lead up to it, I was like, is this worth it? Is this really what I should
Yeah.
do with my funds? And you were amazing because you really, helped me to, I guess, come to the decision, yes,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the leap. And I think that also helped the other goal, which
Right.
was to break through a ceiling in regard to my income. So I think
Yeah.
that both of them went together, honestly.
Yeah, I think when we talked, what I saw is you already knew that you should publish the book. You already knew that you had that, phenomenal material that needed to get out to people. And so I want to go back to the comment that you made about, you said it seemed like writing a book seemed like a big monumental task. Do you know where that came from?
Well,
Where,
it was a big monumental
well,
task.
yeah, of course, yeah, but almost like it was too much. It was an insurmountable task.
Okay, yeah, that's a good well, I mean it is, I think, probably the biggest. I think it is, apart from moving countries, which was
Yeah.
a huge thing to do, and starting a business, which was also a huge thing to do. I think writing a book, it's actually probably more than those things in because
Hmm.
it's a bit different. It's it's a kind of like a mirror. I think meditation is a similar
Yeah.
project because when you're writing, it's you and the page.
Yes.
It's you and the material, and you can only do what you can do. You have to see yourself, you have to see where you fall down, you have to see where your gaps are.
Hmm.
As I said, I wrote it two times in
Hmm.
rough before I got to the final draft. So in 2021, I had completely, for several years, I totally canned this project. That's it, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then something happened in 2021. My life circumstances changed,
Hmm.
and I just started to want to write again. So I think I had focused a lot more on the meditation, a lot more on the transformation. I'd shelved the project, and then something turned around inside of like, oh no, I really do want to do this writing. I know, it sounds a bit intense, but when I
Right.
die, if I haven't done this, I kept throwing myself against the wall.
Mhm.
And if I haven't actually scaled the wall and got to the other side, it's not going to feel as good as if I've done it. Because
Right.
I wanted to do it. And I think the block was that I just didn't think I could. It's
Hmm.
just that simple. I just didn't think I could do it.
Hmm.
It was scary. And then honestly, I did some coaching with you, and I had also a writing coach.
Hmm.
And because I'd, gone through the process of creating a draft a few times before, and I needed someone to help me shift through the places that I just wasn't able to do on my own.
Hmm.
And I'd say in all of these things that I've done, there's always a few people that have helped me to go past what I thought I couldn't do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do really strongly feel that getting the right support at the right time can make all the difference in making that project come true, making it a realization.
Awesome. Awesome. Talk about a little bit, if you will, what the book has done for your business.
Well, yes, I'll just do the
Absolutely.
book.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised. Marketing is one of those non-tangible things, isn't it? Because it's like you
Yeah.
put a lot of effort out there
Yeah.
and you don't get like A plus B doesn't equal C. So
No,
you can't guarantee what's going to come back.
yeah.
And back in
Frustrating,
the,
isn't it?
yeah, it's just, but I start to see it a bit like magic, because, back in the day in New York, it was pre the whole Zoom world and all the online conferencing and all of that. And I used to do a lot of talks. I just do in-person talks and meetups and things like that. And it wasn't that those talks, like the people who came to those talks ended up being my clients. But what happened was that my business started to get more of a profile. I
Yeah.
started to be more of an authority in the area of what I do. And people started to relate to me on a different level because I was out there, speaking to groups and doing workshops and
Right.
traveling, the East Coast of America, doing workshops all over. And I'd say this was much faster. So I put out the book and it really was a sort of non-tangible I couldn't put my finger on how it happened, but
Hmm.
almost immediately, excuse me, almost immediately that put out the book, I had this, result in my business where I just had people coming in. My referral partners felt that they could give a lot more in my direction. The people that they were sending to me were happier to, press the button
Hmm.
and just jump in. I think it gave my clients more confidence
Hmm.
because they could look at what I'd written, even though I'd been putting out blogs for years, honestly, and newsletters and things like that. But they could look at the book and it's a tangible kind
Yes.
of item that they've got at home or they've got on their Kindle. And it just brings this extra level of professionalism and it shows, I think, the passion,
Right.
that I have for what I do. And
And
so
the
they could
commitment.
resonate with that.
And the commitment.
Yeah.
It's not easy to get that book out there. Yeah. That's awesome.
I will just say that I did choose a good, self-publishing company and they
Hmm.
did a beautiful job. And, I had great people help me with the cover. I think it's really worth making these things look good.
Yeah, that's one question I just thought of. You mentioned you had the idea of potentially self-publishing. You thought that that was going to be the route that you would go. And I think a lot of people, rather than take the commitment, the expense, the additional work that's involved in working with a publisher, they go down the self-publishing route. For you and different people have been very successful self-publishing, so not
Yeah.
uh, criticizing that in any way. But what was the deciding factor for you to choose to go the route of working with a publisher versus self-publishing?
Well, I really got to make it my own project because if,
Mm,
if you if
yeah.
you work with a publisher, they're going to have a lot more direction in what it is that
Hmm.
you're going to put out there and the tone and the style of what you're going to put together. That's one. And I worked so hard on making it, represent the work that I do the way I wanted. And then the other one is, with a publisher, it's they do a lot of the work for you, like all the
Hmm.
marketing and things like that. But that industry, it's pretty different now than it was 20 years ago. That industry, the book publishing industry has really changed. And I think if you're a huge, your New York Times best-selling author,
Right.
etc., then for sure go via, think about I mean, I still honestly think self-publishing could be a better route, but you'd
Hmm.
be more, you have more of a choice really. But if you're a new author,
Hmm.
I think self-publishing, there's just a lot more room to grow and you get to, I guess, direct how you want the thing to get out there.
Yes, and forgive me, I probably made an error here. You self-published, but you hired a firm or hired someone to do the marketing to boost your marketing. Is that
Well, no,
accurate?
so they're publishing, there's actually publishing companies that are there for self-publishing authors.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
that's what I chose. And I like that because, it looks really professional. Look at that,
Absolutely.
like it's a beautiful book and
The
the
cover and the
and you can
picture.
see
Yeah.
inside, and the group that I chose, it's a small company called Paper Raven
Hmm.
Publishing. I knew the woman who runs that company. She's great. I really like her. I felt very aligned. So it was just making a choice of what was right for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. What advice would you give people who feel like they're stuck? There's a dream, maybe they want to explore a new career, or maybe they want to get started on publishing writing the book that they have always had rolling around in their head. What advice would you give them to start the process to get unstuck?
I think that there's a few different levels to that. So
Hmm.
I'd cover a couple of different points there. The first point I would say is, are there skills that you need?
Hmm.
So I think as a writer, I did need to mature. I did need to do a lot more work in my IST business with clients to reach a level of confidence in what I do and see, how it works. I had total confidence in the technique,
Right.
But I needed to see myself really succeed in working with a lot of people to get to the place of feeling confident of doing it. And, as a writer, I needed to grow in my skills because, as I said, writing for magazines, writing for newspapers, writing for the wire industry and the media is very different than writing a book.
It is.
So I had to, grow in that regard. So I think the skills is really important.
Mhm.
Sometimes people are blocked because they genuinely need to skill up and just get the help to grow. And
Yeah.
then the other piece is if it's an emotional, blockage, if there's some sort of social conditioning. So I come from Australia, and I think most Australians would be pretty happy to agree there's a cultural kind of attitude there called the tall poppy syndrome.
Oh,
And yeah,
okay. Tell me
it's
about that.
all
I've not heard
Australians
about
know
that.
what that is, but
Okay.
yeah, it's always funny. Americans don't always know. So what it is that if you stick out from the crowd, then you're going to get pushed back down. And
Okay.
so when you see the Australian culture, you can have a look. Like even the Prime Minister, he's got this kind of, guy next door kind of, I guess persona. No one's going to really be a threat. Like it's always everyone's the same somewhere.
Mhm.
And it's kind of a cultural sort of shared belief in smallness. And so in America, you don't have that. There's other things that Americans have, other cultural attitudes or social backdrops that people, it's
Yeah.
not about necessarily the tall poppy syndrome. I think in Canada, they have their own version. It's not the same, but it is this thing where you have to be the same as everyone else. So if there's something that you have that's cultural or it's come from your family that's a blockage that's in your way, a belief, or a
Mhm.
fear that's in your way, then I would say that's where you get help. You get help to find out what's the real source of that blockage, find out really where it came from, and be able to get to a place where you can separate your identity from that blockage. Now, sometimes, having said that, these things can be really deep and really big.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's literally through achieving the thing that you didn't think you could do that you break through. And that's what happened to me with the book. It was like, wow, I had no idea what that was going to do inside of myself
Right.
to achieve something that I had wanted to achieve for, 25 years, or probably longer if you count when I was a little girl and I
Yeah.
wanted to be a writer. That it really changed my consciousness, I would say, at a very deep level. And I had a whole process afterwards of like, oh, shifting through these perceived blockages in a way that I couldn't before I did it.
Yeah. Sometimes you have these perceived blockages, you know they're there, but you just don't exactly know how to take the next step to
Yeah.
work through those. And it's okay. It's okay to not know the answer to the next step. Going internal for the answers is sometimes the answer is you need to ask someone for help.
Yeah, and getting that reflection
Mhm.
because humans are so funny, aren't we? We can see what's going on with everyone around us. Like, why does, that person always do that thing, And we just want to, yeah, well, you should just stop doing that thing.
Why
And of
can't you see
course,
that about
yeah,
yourself?
it's really hard to see it about ourselves. And even when we see it about ourselves, the humility is that it's not always easy to change it on our own. We need support to have that reflection coming from, it could be someone who's an expert in the field, or it could be a friend, someone that really cares.
Mhm.
But reflection is very powerful.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us, what legacy do you hope to leave through this work that you're doing?
Oh, well, I really hope that there's a lot of people that I leave behind who have connected deeply with themselves
Mhm.
and their highest self, their highest possibility, and that are shining brightly. yeah, I hope there are people that have broken through and transformed and changed as a result of what I've done. That would be amazing.
That's beautiful. That's nice. Yeah. Are there any current or upcoming projects or endeavors you'd like to share with folks?
Well, I would point you towards my book on
Absolutely.
Amazon. So you can go on there and get a Kindle or a physical copy of the book as you like. I am working on getting the Audible done, so that I'm hoping to get that done by the end of the year.
Nice.
Um, and I think that's the main things I'm working on right now. I've got some background hobbies and studies that I'm doing, but that's the main things, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how can listeners connect with you directly?
Well, they can go to my book on Amazon, look up Reclaiming Vitality, Samantha Keen, Keen, or they can email me at info@samanthakeen, again, my last name, KEEN.com. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. This has been a really enjoyable conversation to have. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Russ. Great to be here.
All right, take care. Thank you for joining us on the Heart Led Money podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story that could inspire your own journey. We'd love for you to share this episode with someone who's chasing their dreams. If you found value in it, please leave us a review. Your support helps more dreamers discover the show. Until next time, I'm Russ Dunnick, reminding you your passion is your power, and it might just be your paycheck.